during the interview.
I can what?
You can look at me.
Okay, all right.
And try, if you can, to kind of repeat the question. What is your name? What is your profession? Mm-hmm. And kind of what is your role in this thing you're working on, this project?
Okay. My name is Blair Thomas, and I'm a puppeteer. And I'm working in this capacity with the Looking Glass Theater Company. And they have a new play called Mr. and Mrs. Pennyworth. And it's a new script that Doug Hare from the company has written. And I'm making the puppets for the show. So I'm the puppet designer. This is a position that I haven't done so much because usually I work on only the productions that I'm making for my own company. And so to make puppets for someone else's show is something I don't do too often, but I have to say it's a great relief to only work on the puppets and not have to worry about the rest of the show. Doug's got to figure that one out. So what it allows me to do is to indulge in design and the execution of design in a way that I actually don't let myself do on my own shows because I'm so preoccupied with so many parts of the show. So I'm the puppet designer and fabricator. I started as a puppeteer when I was a kid. Around 10 or 11, I started to build some puppets and work with some store-bought puppets and made puppet shows for about 3 or 4 years. I had a company and had an opportunity to make an original piece, and I went back to puppetry in my late 20s. And for the past 30 years, I've been making puppet shows in Chicago. I'm not from Chicago. I grew up in Alabama, but I moved to Chicago after graduating from Oberlin College in Ohio. Southeastern Wisconsin, we have a small 5-acre farm, and she's really the farmer. I'm the farmer's assistant. So this is the second edition of the Chicago International Puppet Theater Festival, and this show, Mr. and Mrs. Pennyworth, is one of 20 performances that are happening as part of the festival. My other role is that I'm the founder and artistic director of the festival, and so I'm organizing the whole of the festival, and it's a collaboration. We have 25 different Chicago non-for-profit organizations. Often what happens with contemporary puppetry, when people who are interested in the arts come and see it for the first time, is they say, I've never seen anything like that in my life. Because what's happening in contemporary puppetry is live in front of you, mixing styles and mediums and aesthetics that is wholly new in its collection. But it's a very dynamic art form. If you haven't been going to the puppet theater since you were a kid, you would be in for a great surprise by coming to see productions like this one, that Mr. and Mrs. Pennyworth, where there's different scales of puppetry that are being employed. I have very normal-sized puppet dolls that are being used, but also larger, and there's a large costume puppet that's, in the end, is about 10 or 12 feet long. It's a very large puppet. What ends up happening is you have this live aesthetic that's a storytelling technique that really is transportative. You're in a space you're in the presence of the puppet. And the puppet, as an adult, you look at it and you go, I know that's not alive. But if the puppet has been well designed and is being well performed, you start to be deceived because you say, I recognize that movement. In fact, that looks very much like the movement of a wolf. That looks like the movement of a small figure. And you believe for a second, and then you're like, no, I don't believe. And then you believe, and then you don't believe, and you don't believe. You go back and forth like this. And then you start to become entranced by the performance. And this is one of the phenomena of puppetry. So my name is Blair Thomas, and I'm a puppeteer. And on this production of Mr. and Mrs. Pennyworth, I am the puppet designer.